I'm not certain that games are the first place that VR will be successful. I'm Brandon Sheffield. I'm the director of Necrosoft Games in Oakland, California.
What do you think of NASCOM in India?
It's pretty good so far. It's day one for me. I didn't come to the sessions yesterday, but it's been pretty good. I've seen some interesting data about the future of India, and then I've watched some friends give their talks, and it's been quite nice.
So, if you had to give indie gaming developers a few pointers on how not to do things, what would you tell them?
I would say don't follow others as much as possible. I see a lot of folks kind of making the same sorts of games. Like they'll chase a popular genre or go in one direction that seems to be, likely to generate a hit right now, but that's less likely to result in something big and something meaningful. So there's that. And the other thing is people have a tendency not to focus on polish as well. Once you've got your game and your concept down, you need to really kind of keep grinding at that until that stone turns into a diamond. And that's one thing that I see with indie developers that I talk to here that they may not want to spend the time on.
Okay. So, what would you tell someone like these kids? You've seen the kids downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell them?
I would definitely tell them to find what their passion is first, and then make something about that. Another thing that I told them, which is kind of related to attending something like this, is I actually went to Backstage Pass, a game developer school somewhere in Hyderabad, and I told the kids there that, it's great to talk to people who have made games that you like and who are kind of, have gotten somewhere in the game industry, but don't forget to talk to each other and keep those relationships very strong, because ultimately they're going to be the future of the industry. And, someone that you've met in this class may eventually be the head of some company or have this connection over here. I give this advice at GDC in San Francisco as well, because there is this kind of tendency to focus on the people that seem the most important and ignore the students around you. But ultimately, those students are all trying for the same thing, and when they come up together and keep those relationships for 10 years or something, they're really going to be able to help each other out more.
But isn't it hard to get a foot in the door in the gaming industry nowadays?
Well, it depends on which door we're talking about, because it's easier than ever to make a game because of the tools that we have available and the fact there are even game studies programs at all. It's hard to sell a game even if you're famous, though. So, getting into like a big traditional company can still be difficult, but there are fewer and fewer of those. Seems to me it's more important now to make your own way and do something that others aren't doing. Smaller developers, indie developers, have the ability to take a risk and do something different and try something bold, which bigger companies can't do. So even if you can't get your foot into the door of a big company, you may be able to do something that they can't. There are game developers out there who make their very first game, and they put it on PC or something, sell it for $10, and it sells 200,000 copies. And then suddenly they're actually rich, and they never met anybody. They're from the middle of America. They've never met any other game developer in their lives, but they've become successful on their own. And I believe that is possible anywhere with the right mentality and figuring out about marketing and this sort of thing, or luck. Yeah.
Okay, so since we're at NASCOM, and one of the main features of this conference is virtual reality, what's your take on it? Do you really think it has a future in gaming, or is it going to just fizzle out later on?
I don't think it'll fizzle out because there's too much money involved right now. There's too much money that's been put into it, so it won't be allowed to completely fizzle. But I'm not certain that games are the first place that VR will be successful. I think that other applications like amusement parks or film or something else may be where VR really takes off first. I think the kinds of games that we're seeing now are not the kinds of games we'll be seeing in the future, because you need to design games completely differently for VR. They need to be a completely different experience. And what we're seeing right now, a lot of, is kind of traditional games that also work in VR, or translating experiences that have already existed into VR. And I don't think that works as well. But as for me personally, I don't like it at all. I don't like VR in the slightest.
Okay, so do you prefer traditional animation or computer animation?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess kind of a meeting of both. I don't like 100% CG very much unless it's really stylized, which people rarely do. Like, we've got all these amazing filters and crazy things, and we're still trying to make stuff look mostly realistic. And to me, that's crazy. It's like, we're creating a virtual world. Let's make it look like something we've never seen before. If there were more people doing that with computer animation, I would be pretty into it. But as it stands, there's something about hand-drawn animation that always really impresses me, especially when I watch the process and everything. So I guess ultimately I like that a little more.
Okay. So now that you've been in India for a couple of days now, and you've been at this conference, what's your favorite part about the conference?
Well, it's similar to most conferences. My favorite thing is just meeting new people and hearing new perspectives. Seeing India's game industry and the kinds of questions that people ask me here versus other places. It's interesting to see how our problems are similar but different. It's like, ultimately we have all the same issues. We want to sell our games. How do we do it? We want to get money to make our games. How do we do that? But different approaches and different results and different targets as well. So I think that's my favorite part, is talking to the people that are here. I spent all day yesterday with a indie game developer who I had never met before that, and we went all around the city, and it was great just comparing perspectives and what our passions are, and seeing how similar and how different they are.
Okay, so my final question. Mario Kart or Crash Bandicoot?
Oh, that's a tough one. Can I make a sideline and say Jack Racing, which is it's like, so you got the Mario Brothers, you got Crash Bandicoot, and then there was Jack and Daxter. And there was one Jack Racing game, which was the maps were created by the original level designer of Sonic the Hedgehog, and so that's the one that I prefer.